Okay, welcome back again. And the last time, if you remember, the class that we had, it was on voices. We started with clauses and then came to voices, all because the verb was the fulcrum of all these chapters, right? The core of all these transformation of sentences. When we look from the clause point of view, from the right? Okay, and let's have a recapitulation of what we had done in the previous class. Just a reminder, okay, and that is the change of voice. And the two voices that we have is the active voice and the passive voice, right? Okay, so last time, if you remember, we did talk about what is it that makes a difference between the two, active and passive voice. Okay, an active voice, it is the subject, the doer of the action, right? The subject that's given much importance. And in the passive voice, it's the action. Okay, it's the action, or say it's the receiver of the action who takes the importance. Either action or the receiver of the action gets importance, and so we call it passive sentence. And we did have a few examples, I guess one each for each of the tenses, and not all, but we did have a couple of examples. So today also what we do is we'll have a couple of examples and then see how we can transform the sentences. Okay. Uh, then for this, I guess if you remember, we wanted to find out like what becomes very important for us from the voice point of view, right? From the clauses point of view, it was finite and non-finite. Got it? And from the change of voice or the voice point of view, it's the transitive and the intransitive verb that becomes important for us. Okay, transitive verb, the verb that passes the action, doesn't hold the action, it passes the action to the next object. Okay, whereas here, the action doesn't get passed, right? The action doesn't get passed here, and so it becomes an intransitive verb. So for us, this is important if at all we have to transform the sentence from active to passive. Okay, so last time we just had a sample sentence. I think we used the present tense in the first three forms, that simple present, present continuous, and present perfect. Okay, so today we shall see with the other part of the sentences also, right? So let us start with a statement like this. We did the festival, we celebrated the festival with a festive spirit. Okay, so this is the sentence as an example for now before us, and analyzing the sentence again becomes important, and I'll take the other side to take the next part of this sentence, that's from active to passive. So if you look at the sentence here, we have this verb celebrated, which is in past tense. If you remember the logic that we used last time, or say the rules that we followed last time, right? Identifying the tense, the verb which is important from the tense point of view as well as from the number point of view, singular and plural, and then associating it with the subject and object. Okay, so the verb is in past tense here, celebrated, and what we have, the subject for celebrated is we, and what was celebrated, it was the fest. And how was it celebrated? Okay, so I'll take this as the immediate object, O1, and the next one with the festive spirit as O2. Right? Now we can call it as even a declarative sentence, an assertive sentence, right? An assertive sentence, that which asserts itself or describes something. And here the festival is being described. It is described that it was celebrated and it was celebrated by this subject. And now if you remember the rules that we had last time, right? Just for a reminder, if I put it on this side, we had a subject, verb, and the object, right? And we interchange their places. So what are those? The object was used here, and then the verb got split into the helping verb and the main verb. Main verb in the sense the past participle of the main verb. To put it clear, I will use PPT, which means not a PowerPoint presentation here, but past participle of the main verb. Okay, and then we had the preposition by, and then we had this subject. Okay, so that is the formula that we followed last time. Now, according to that, let's see what are the things here. We have two objects, right? So we can use one of the objects either in the beginning of the sentence or later. So this time we'll use it later and take the first object here. What is the first object? The festival. Okay, the festival. Now, celebrated is in past tense, right? So when celebrated is in past tense and the subject is singular, either we can use was, right? And did, for example. But did doesn't suit here because it doesn't go with the sentence here, right? So we use was here, was or were. We can use was and were, either of the verbs. But which one is suitable? Because the subject is singular, we have to go by was, and so were isn't suitable here. Neither were nor did. We cannot use those verbs because it doesn't suit with the sentence. Okay, the festival object, we brought it here, and then next is the helping verb, as we got it here, helping verb, and the next one. This is the main verb. Celebrate is the main verb. This is a form. The first form of this verb is celebrate. And so the third form of the verb will also be celebrated. Okay, so this is V3. I mean, the past participle of the main verb celebrate is again celebrated. Okay, so the festival was celebrated. Then we take the next object. Okay, what is it? How was it celebrated? With a festive spirit, right? With a festive spirit. We got this festive spirit, and then we need to follow the next step, introducing by here. And by whom was it? Okay, we, when changes its place to the subject, I mean to say, like when from subjective case it comes to the objective case, it transforms, and so we transforms into us. So if we try and relate it to the formula that we have got here, we exactly get this answer, with the tense also being retained here, right? The tense, past tense. Okay, so if we look at the tense also, and we look at the other ingredients, the components of the sentence as defined by that formula, now we exactly right, and so now we are very sure that this answer would be correct. Okay, so let's go with another example. This time we'll take an example up and down, and this was an example for an assertive sentence. Okay, so let's see. We'll take another one for the tense reference and then move on. What can be another sentence? We just used the past tense because last time, I guess, if you remember, we had used the present tenses over there. So now with the past tense, that was a simple past. Okay, and so now we'll take a past continuous. What past continuous we can have here is they are practicing, right? They are practicing social distancing. Okay, I'll take this just to remind ourselves that we need to keep ourselves safe by following the protocols that are given us, the preventive measures that are given, because with the kind of havoc that COVID-19 is playing, it's always good that we prevent ourselves. So let's now look at this sentence. They are practicing social distancing, but I said we wanted a past continuous. So I'll write here, there were those countries which were infected much ahead of India. We followed that same thing. So we write it as they were practicing social distancing, as a result of which they were able to flatten the curve of the pandemic. Okay, so let's see how we can analyze this sentence now. Right? They as the subject here, were practicing as a verb, and the social distancing as the object. Right? And when we look at the verb, they is a plural subject, and so it is followed by verb. And verb is in past tense and a plural verb. Okay. The next, it's not just past tense here. We also have this ing with the main verb. And so this ing tells that it is in continuous tense. Okay. So now we have got the tense as a continuous, past continuous, and the statement with very simple components, subject, verb, and object. No more complications here. Okay. Now let's apply the same formula and try to get the answers. Okay. Bringing back social distancing in the subject for passive sentence, right? And the tense that we are following this continuous. Okay, so get the social distancing here. Now social distancing is taken as singular, right? So when it is singular, then was is to be used, because verb cannot be used here as the subject is singular. Here the subject was plural, and so they was they was followed by verb. But social distancing is taken as singular, so we cannot use were. Instead we have to use was. Right? Social distancing was. Okay. The past participle of this verb now. Right? The V1 form of this verb is practice, practiced, and practiced. Even the third form of the verb also stands to be practiced. Okay, so the past participle. So getting it right here, social distancing was practiced. Right? And then using the preposition by, and then the subject, which changes to them when it moves from the subjective case to the objective case. Now, if you look at this sentence, definitely you would be able to identify that not all is good with this sentence. Okay, not all is good with this sentence because not matching. Okay, the tense is still not matching. And so what do we do now? We have this past tense, this past tense is represented here. We have the continuous tense, but the continuous tense isn't represented here. So what do we do now? If you remember, in the last one or two examples of the previous class, we used these verbs. Okay, these verbs which are very helpful for us. And how are they helpful? They're much helpful for us because the role they play is beautiful in a sentence along with the verb. What is the role they play? They play such a role that they do not harm the tense of the sentence, nor do they distort the action there, disturb the action or destroy the action, retaining the tense, retaining the action, which is like the tense as well, the time of action and the action, both are retained without any harm to the sentence, and then they are used. If I just take a second here, a fraction of a second to remind ourselves like what it were, be was used in simple tense, be was used in continuous tense, and be with perfect tense, be it present perfect or perfect tense that we use. So now that we need a continuous tense to be represented, because main verb, the participle of the main verb practice is used, but we don't have the ing tense to make it as good as past continuous of the given sentence. So what do we do here? Then we say social distancing was, right? We use this being here. Okay. Social distancing was being practiced by them. So when we add this tense, being here, right? So this gives us the continuous tense, and was gives us the past tense. So for students, those who are being missing it every year after year, to have a very closer look at such exercises in language, especially grammar, this is your last chance now. Because after this, perhaps there is no chance that you will revise them or study them again anytime, because now you move into the next year. I mean to say, like, you will move into a advanced stage, an intermediate stage. So that would be very difficult for you to have these things over there. So this is perhaps the last time you would be revisiting grammar in your school. So be very thorough with what's happening here, whatever is being solved out. Okay. So tense now. The first one that we used was simple past, and this one is past continuous. Right? I hope you are getting it. And let's have a perfect tense now. Okay, so we'll have one perfect tense and then move on to the next one. I'm just taking one example each. These are all like call them as assertive sentences. Okay, so I'll come to the other examples a little later. Let's first finish with the tenses. Okay, so the next one, let's take a perfect tense, right? So what do? We had they, we had we, and now let's say you, right? You had a wonderful time. You had, I'll try making it simpler for you with just one object. You had played the match, right? You had played the match excellently, brilliantly. You played the match very valiantly, very bravely played the match, right? Excellently. Okay. Now, if you check out with what kind of a sentence it is, right? Again, it's actor, because you had played the match gets the importance here. Okay. So analyzing the sentence now. We said we are working with the past perfect verb. So that clue is already given to you. This is the past perfect verb, the main verb here, and the main verb here is the participle, right? We said like all perfect tenses will be followed by participle. So played is the participle here. Who had played the match? It is the subject you, right? And what you had played? The match. Okay, how was it played? Excellently, brilliantly. Okay, so we have got these things now. Now, if we transform this sentence, right, to the passive voice, taking it into the passive voice now. Let's see what is it that we get here. Take the first object, obviously, as the protocol goes, the match. Okay, the match. Now we already have the past perfect tense verb here. Okay, this is past perfect, and in past perfect, you need not be much worried about the subject, because in past perfect it is had, which qualifies both the singular as well as the plural subject. Okay, so the match, we take it as it is had. Okay, and already the past participle of the main verb play is already there on the board for us in the on the question. So the match had played, right? Now there is something that you would be thinking about. Keep thinking that. I'll come back to the answer again. Was played excellently, right? And then we need to have the preposition, okay? Preposition by, and you, even in objective case also remains you, in subjective case also it remains you, okay? The match had been played excellently by you. Now, have you brought it? Like this is here, just using the arrow marks. Okay, the match. The next, the verb gets split into two, the helping verb and the main verb. Main verb is the participle of the main verb, right? Okay, so the match is here. We've got it here. Then had, as I told you, had is the only verb in past perfect that qualifies both singular as well as plural noun. And so had and the past participle is V3, right? How was it played? Excellently. Okay, and then by. So we have got it here. Well, the arrow marks would look very much of a crisscross, so I'll try avoiding it the next time. For now, you can just check it out. Okay. So if you have got it here, the match had played excellently by you. Here, it's very evident, a glaring mistake that has taken place here. And what is that? Without a verb from those three being used here, it's very difficult for us to match the tense. Now, the meaning of the sentence is getting distorted, getting disturbed, getting destroyed. We want to say that the match was played by you, but here it looks as if the match had played, right? So with perfect tenses we use been. So use this been here, and you see the magic that been plays. Okay. So once been is written here, then it keeps the tense also, right? The tense also smooth, and it keeps the action also going smooth, right? The match had been played excellently by you. So that is how it goes. Okay, just for our understanding, we'll take another example on the same. Okay, on the assertive sentences. Chinese troops had not, okay, had not moved there, moved their weaponry. Okay, I mean to say the military equipments, all the necessary tools that they use to fight a war. Okay, the Chinese troops had not moved their weaponry, right? So now if we analyze the sentence, what do we get here? I must use a definite article here, the Chinese troops. Okay, the Chinese troops, and what's the verb here? Had not moved. Okay, they hadn't, helping verb and the main verb and the negative verb. Okay, had not moved. What they did not move, what hadn't they moved? They hadn't moved their weaponry. Okay, they were supposed to move back into their territory from transgressing into the Indian territory along with their weaponry. But they did not move out with their weaponry, is what the sentence tells here. So now if we get the subject, verb, and object. Now let's get to the answer. This is as active, and the next one as passive for the same perfect tense, right? So had is past perfect. Okay, done. And moved is V3 form, because past participles are always used with perfect tense, and the next part of the object. So let's get the object first here. Their weaponry. Okay, their weaponry, right? Past perfect, either singular subject or plural subject will be the same. So had, okay, had not moved, I guess. You can understand why I have left this space here, right? Had not moved by, preposition by, who are those? By the Chinese army. I guess the Chinese troops. Okay, Chinese troops. Okay, got it. So their weaponry hadn't moved. Okay, if you say their weaponry hadn't moved, somebody has to move it, right? Somebody has to move the weaponry, and so we need this subject to do the work. And the verb that we had here, as I told you, like being brings about that difference to change it. And this arrow mark here should have given you a clue that a verb is required here. And with perfect tense, being is used. And so I'll introduce being here. And now you see that the meaning as well as the tense of the sentence sets right. Okay, their weaponry had not been moved by the Chinese troops. Okay, we got the subject here, and then had the past perfect verb. Okay, then the negative word also is retained. Being moved, this is V3, and being helps us to transform the verb into passive. And then we have the preposition by, and the object of this sentence, which is the subject of the given sentence. Okay, the weaponry had not, the weaponry had not been moved by the Chinese troops. Okay, so I guess this should be clear enough for you to understand the examples of the perfect tense. And let's think about the next one. So next, I guess you should be thinking that, so we need the next one is past perfect continuous. Okay, past perfect continuous will not have a passive form. So do remember that. So we'll take only the first three tenses for transformations. Okay, now let's just move on to the next one. Okay, let's also have an example of future tense, right? Future tense is what? Okay, like we will visit our school on August 15, 2020. So hope you understand what we are pointing at now. So just as a future tense verb for you to check out like how the transformation goes about. Okay, will visit is the verb here. What would you visit? Our school, the first object, and then when would you visit? On August 15, 2020. Okay, so the model verb now, right? Will future tense model verb, and visit as a main verb. Okay, better I will mention it as future tense. Okay, the future tense. We will visit our school on August 15, 2020. So if we start getting the answers now, transforming it into the passive sentence. Now, as we go with the passive sentence, what is it? Okay, we will visit. We have taken our school as a direct object. As I told you a little earlier, you can use a second object even at the beginning of the sentence, or you can put it even before the preposition. So let's see. This time, let's use it. We'll take our school here, right? Our school, the object has come as the subject of the passive sentence, right? Now look at the verb. We need to take this helping verb, right? Will. Okay, the past participle of visit is visited. Okay, the school will visit it when? On August the 15th, 2020, right? By we tends to us. Okay, now if you look at it again, this will tell you the importance of be, being, being, right? Why those three verbs become very important in the passive form of the sentence. Our school will blank visited on August 15, right? Our school will visited on August 15. It looks like as if the school is visiting, right? So to make that meaning meaningful, we need to use be because this is future simple tense, simple future tense, right? So our school will be visited, right, on August 15th by us. Another way of writing this answer would be on August 15th be visited by us. So that makes a future tense example for you. And let's move to the next examples now. So these are all assertive sentences that we are using. You can even have a couple of sentences with interrogative as well as imperative. Okay. If time provides, we shall have it today, or we always have a next chance. Okay, so let's take an interrogative sentence now, right? So what interrogative sentence we can take now? Let's question the same sentence that we have here, and that is starting with the sentence like, who will visit our school? Right. I'm not taking the time for just making it simpler for us to answer. So active voice interrogative sentence now, it's changing from assertive to interrogative. Okay. So we got an interrogative sentence now. Who will visit our school? Still make it as identify as subject, verb, and object. Okay, so who will visit our school? Now simple, interchange the same thing as we have been doing it, simplifying that rule that we have got here. Now, so let's interchange the places now. Okay, our school, right? Our school. Now, what is the verb that we have got there? Will visit. Okay, so we'll get the same verbs there in the passive form. Will, okay, will. Then past participle of visit is visited, but then that doesn't make the proper sense. And so what we do here is we take the help of be. So our school will be visited by, and when this who comes in place of object, it changes to whom. Okay, so you got it here. Our school will be visited by whom is what we get the answer right now with the interrogative sentence. Okay, we just saw the assertive ones. Now the interrogative one, who will visit our school? Our school will be visited by whom? A person that we get here. Let's try out another example for interrogative sentence. Hope you're able to get that. Important thing, the tense correct, retain the tense of the given sentence, and then interchange the components of the sentence. That is the subject, verb, and object with the said modifications. Okay, so let's have another sentence like, who has attended those classes live? Okay, who has attended those classes live? I'll just drop it out. Who has attended those classes? Now, if I transform this, and you also need to keep thinking along with me as this answer is simplified for you and arrive at the answer, right? Keep thinking and keep working along. It's more effective. Your learning becomes more effective as you go solving it simultaneously, because when you start anticipating, right, when you start anticipating the answers, when you start thinking about the answers, then when the answers also start falling in line with your same thought, same line of thinking, then that is a joy unbound, right? When you are thinking that this should be the answer and that comes as the answer, and when you realize that it's correct, the sense of getting it right, okay, that is something that you enjoy within yourself, and don't miss that. So keep doing it. Okay, so if I look at this sentence now with the interrogative sentence, it started with who, right, has been, and also remember that I'm just taking the sample sentences. Once we are back to the class, we will have all different kinds of sentences being used in more numbers and in different varieties. Okay, so for now, we are just taking those things which become easy for us to comprehend. Okay, so those, what is that? Those classes, fine, that we brought it here, right? Who has attended? Now, if you look at this verb here, has attended, of course, a perfect tense verb. And with perfect tense, what do we get? It's a present perfect. It's a with a perfect tense, obviously, the verb that follows is a participle. Okay, so let's see now. Those classes. Now, who is singular? So it was has. For us, the question is what should be used? Have or has? Okay, since the subject here is plural, right? We need to use the plural verb, and the tense also is retained. Okay, so we cannot use has because the subject that we have right here now is plural. Okay, those classes have, okay, perfect tense, what is to be used? Been. Okay, and the participle here is attended, and then the preposition by, and the subject that we get here is whom. Okay, so those classes have been attended by whom is the answer that we get there. And when you talk about interrogative sentences, you have another interrogative sentence also. Okay, what is that another interrogative sentence? We need to understand there are two kinds of questions. What two kinds of questions are they? Okay, for you to just give you a clue, that we need to answer in complete sentences. Okay, for example, if it is asked like, where do you go after the class, right? I need to say that after the class, I need to attend my other works of the day. Okay, and if it is like, oh, are you attending your work today? For this question, we don't give a complete answer in a complete sentence, right? We just say yes or no, right? So remember that interrogative will have two kinds of sentences. Okay, which question? What are those? One is informatory questions. Informatory questions which start with WH word. Okay, questions which start with WH word and they are meant to seek information or explanation, right? Information, explanation, and all that. So they are WH questions. Okay, like how do you reach your home? Okay, then I can say like I reach my home either by a vehicle or by walk. Okay, so that I can tell that. If it is like, are you walking to your home? Right? Are you walking to your home? So the answer would be no. So one kind of question is confirmation questions. The other one is called the information questions. Okay. So we just saw an information question with the WH word, and now we'll use an example for confirmation. Okay, like this one. Okay. Did you watch the class? Okay. Did you watch the class on YouTube live? Okay. So did you watch the class? Right? So if we look at the subject here, what is it? You. What did you do? Watch. Okay. What is it? The class. And you have the interrogative word here. It's a confirmatory question, right? So what is the tense of the sentence now? Did. Okay. So now look at that. How do we get it into the passive form? This is the active form and this is the passive form for confirmation question. Okay. So let's leave this part here and get it here. What is the object here? The class. Did is what? The participle did is in past tense, that will be coming it here, and we take the participle here. The class watched. Okay. Then the preposition by, and then the subject you. Right. Now what is it that I need to do here? Okay. I'm trying to check with the tense here. Did the class watched by you? Will that be verb all right? No. And so I need to say, was the class watched by you? So this is the way we get the confirmatory questions and its passive form. Okay. Did you watch the match? Did you watch the class? Was the class watched by you? Right. So that is an example for a confirmatory question. We'll have one more example and then with another tense perhaps, and then go to the next one. Okay, this time let me take this example. Have you attended, right? Have you attended the flag hoisting ceremony? Okay, have you attended the flag hoisting ceremony? How do I go with the answer now in the passive form? Okay, starting here in the passive form. Let's analyze it. Past perfect. And okay, then subject, then verb, the object. Okay, so now let's start with this one. I'll leave it here, right? I'll take this one, the flag hoisting ceremony. That's the object that we had in the sentence. So we take the same here. First, the object of the active voice, the flag hoisting ceremony, right? Then the participle attended. Okay, we got the participle attended. By, you remains the same even in objective case, so you rewrite it there. Now, what is missing here? Like you will feel that, right? What is missing here is the verb isn't there. The verb which actually should give that life to the sentence is missing, and so now we consider that one. Okay, had the flag hoisting ceremony attended by you. Perfect tense. Remember, perfect tense and been. So this, right? How do we use them? In perfect tense, since it's the same verb, we use it the same. And the flag hoisting ceremony been attended by you. So the addition of had as a past perfect tense and been to keep the flow of the verb in the sentence. Been helps us do that. And had the flag hoisting ceremony been attended by you, that makes much sense than what we wrote it without these two. That was intentionally written at the last only to tell you that if you don't use the verbs correctly, look at the way the meaning as well as the construction of the sentence gets disturbed. Okay, that was the idea of writing these words at the last to complete the answer. So let us just look at imperative sentences and then we can wind up for today. So we'll have another couple of examples for the imperative sentence. And then there is also a table that you need to remember, which is going to help you with your change of voice and in the change of speech, direct and indirect speech or reported speech. Okay, so we'll do that after the imperative sentence. So we first had that assertive and then the interrogative, and this time imperative. I of what this imperative sentences are. Okay, so advice, request, order, command, right, permission, all those sentences which we call which are imperative, right? And so let's take one example here. What could be an imperative sentence? Always remember the imperative sentence, right? In the imperative sentence, the second person subject is assumed. Okay, the subject, that's you, is assumed in imperative sentences, right? And so what do we do for that? For example, this one. Uh, Close the door. Okay, so we have this, close the door, right? Now, if I have a subject like you close the door, okay, so this is subject is assumed here. So we'll not be taking it here right now, writing it right now. Close the door, assuming that I'm talking to the next person, that is second person, you. Okay, I'm asking somebody, close the door. Or I can even say, okay, you close the door. Okay, so let's see now. For imperative sentences, the clue that we need to remember use the word let. So once we get this word here, then things become easier for you to answer, right? This is active and this is passive for an imperative sentence. Okay, and object. Subject is assumed, presumed there. Okay, let begin with this one, the door. Okay, past participle of the verb close is closed, right? But why is this gap here? It's in simple present. So for simple tense, we need be. Let the door be closed in its passive form. So that is how we get the imperative sentences. We'll take another one for imperative. And next, what do we do? Let's say like, oh, sorry, I'm getting with the black one. Will give. Taking it or trying to make it simple. What can be simple? Okay, we can say, right, okay, the verb would be the same, but still I don't mind it. Close your books. If you're sitting with your books in front of the screen right now, right, I can say close your books, and again the subject being assumed. Okay, so close your books. It's the same verb, so it doesn't interest you much. Nothing challenging here. Uh, Let me try one more example after this. But since the example is up there, let's solve it. Okay, close your books. Even you need to solve. Actually, wanted to keep the comment box on so that your answers would be keyed in. But then since they are long sentences, so we haven't taken it. So otherwise, also keep guessing, keep thinking, and try and see that your line of thinking also goes with our line of thinking, and when they match together, that is the joy of learning. That gives you a lot of excitement there. So let me write here let, and then your books. Okay, simple present close. It's again be closed. Doesn't make much difference because you use the same verb there. So let's instead take another example. Okay, so what is it? Let's take an advice here. What advice? Usually you have been sick of it, perhaps even the teachers also tell you, your parents also tell you, and we say that you must, right? You must work hard. Okay, You must work hard. It's a order, a command, or an advice, right? You must work hard, otherwise you can't achieve anything. So you must work, and how you must work hard. Okay, so together if I take, you must work hard now. This sentence all together, right? If I'll just transform that, I'll take it together. Work hard. You must, or to make it this one, you must do. Sorry, trying to make it simple for you. You must do hard work. Okay, you must do hard work. Otherwise, also that could have been done. Hard work must be done by you. So the same thing will get it here. You must do hard work. Okay, so trying to make the sentence simpler for you. Let's take this hard work and advice, right? Then must as it is here. To make it passive form, we need to use be. Hard work must be do, past participle of do is done, and preposition by and you. Okay. I tried taking only simpler examples to explain you, just to understand the process of that. So as and when we get a chance to get back together uh, under one roof in a classroom, then we can take up challenging examples over there, right? So we can take more examples, especially the challenging ones, which look a little different. So varieties and the number of examples. We need to wait for that. Let's all pray that this pandemic comes under control very soon, and let this curve of the pandemic get flattened as early as possible, so that it can facilitate our return to the schools, so that we can have better learning here than the online medium. Online also is necessary for us, because we miss that human element when we go with the online classes, right? Okay, so if you remember a few sentences like you must do this work must be done by you, right? They visited the school was visited by them. So if you remember that, I mean, it's a change of the uh, pronouns there. So I would just leave you today with the table of pronouns, where we call it as a subjective case, right? Then possessive case, and then the objective case, right? A couple of minutes to wind up with this. Okay, so we have the pronouns now to be used in different places in a sentence. Looks very odd here with lines crisscrossing. Get it neat. One single line, and then the next one's coming up. Wonder why this table becomes important for you. Once the table is done, then you realize that. Okay. So what is it that is here now? Now for this one, we need to understand the person. First person, singular and plural. Second person, singular. Similarly, the third person also singular and plural. Okay. Hope this is visible to you on the screen. And let's come now. Subject. Subject is when we use them at the beginning of the sentence as the doer of the action. So in first person, what do we use? Either I say I or we, right? In singular, it's I, and in plural, it's we. Now, for example, I studied voices. Voices was studied by. When it changes, when it changes its place to subject to object, it changes to me. That is first person singular I changes to first person singular me. Similarly, when we use we, it is us. Okay, so this is subject and object, but the possessive case is here, right? Possessive, which shows the ownership. Okay, this is mine, this is my class, this is my book, we say that. Okay, so what is it for I say mine or mine, right? And for we, it is either our or ours. Ours is the best class, right? Our school is the most beautiful school ever attended. So you can use that. Now coming to the second person now, right? Second person and plural, I'll take it with a bracket. Now this should give you a clue that singular and plural in second person remains you. It doesn't change. Okay, singular also is you and plural also is you. I can say like you keep quiet, and I can say you keep quiet. Okay, the same thing can be used. And to make more specific, we can say you all keep quiet. Okay, but otherwise, you is fine, right? So you as singular and plural remains the same. And very interesting with the second person, even when you use it as the object, it still remains the same. For example, you learned the voices today, right? The voices were learned by you. I'm referring to everybody who is watching it from the other side of the screen. So everybody is included here. So this is plural. And if I say, okay, only that particular student, even that is also fine. Okay. So it all depends upon the context whether we refer to singular or plural. But the word that we use is the same, you and you. And then this is something which you have already experienced in your letter writing. Once you complete the letter writing, the note of closing where you write yours faithfully, yours sincerely, yours gratefully, and all that. Okay. So either you say your or yours. Okay, possessive. Now next one is the third person, right? Singular and plural. In the third person, singular and plural, I must say he or she as singular. Okay. Now he attended my class. My class was attended by him, right? So here him, and the next one is like she watched that movie. That movie was watched by her. So when these pronouns come, I mean, change to their objective case, then they transform accordingly. He changes to him and she changes to her. And if you look at the possessive, right? For he, the possessive, like it is his class. So we say his. And for female, we say it is her class, possession. It is her bag, right? Okay. And for the plural, what is it? It is they. Okay. So for they, for example, like they all enjoyed the class. The class was enjoyed by them. So there changes to them, and here it is either their or theirs. Okay. So we got these pronouns here. The other pronoun that we can have is the neuter gender it, and it remains the same, right? The neuter gender for okay. Here also it is it, right? It is fine. Okay, and here it is. So the personal pronouns, this if we leave out this neuter gender, we'll call it personal pronouns. Okay, rather it would be fine if I wipe it out. That makes it easy for you. No confusions at all, right? So personal pronouns, we have this one. Now, why this table becomes important for us? Now, if you see, the subjective case and the objective case can be used in voices. Okay, the subjective and the objective case is used in voices, and so when the change comes from this to this, okay, or the otherwise, this we can call it as meant for voice, change of voice. Okay, now you might be wondering now, what is very special about it? Here it is. Very special about it is here. Okay, I've drawn a red line here, which means that the change here from first person to the second person, if it's visible, I guess it's visible for you. Second person change to the third person, especially when we go with speech. Okay, change of speech. So I'll be writing here, like for speech, it is a vertical change, and sorry, horizontal change, and for voices, it is a vertical change, right? This is vertical. And for horizontal change of speech from this one to this one. Giving you a very easy and a simple example, short example here, I'll wind up. Let's take the third person. This is very common for us. He said, I'm doing good. Okay, I'm doing good. Right? So when you have this sentence in a direct speech and when you change it into the reported speech, you say, he said that, what next? I refers to whom? The speaker, right? So that has to change to the third person. Okay, what is that? Singular. This is singular first person. Same thing, we have to see third person singular. First person singular is I. We have to see what is it in third person singular. It's he, because we have used the male pronoun, so we need to use he. He said that he, right? Past tense, was doing good. So I've just taken one example to let you know that how the personal pronouns will really help you to remember them and their usage also, right? When the subjective case changes to objective case, this is usually used in voices. And when the first and the second person get changed to the third person, it's usually in direct and indirect speech. Okay, so that I think would be fine for today. And I've taken very simple examples for you to understand the assertive, interrogative, and the imperative sentences, right? Exclamatory, you might be wondering why not. That we will let you know in the next class. And I think the examples, the variety of the examples and the number of examples that we can solve, that we can do it once you join us under this roof for the offline classes, and then with that touch of human element and with your participation from the other side, these classes can be more interesting than what it has been today. Okay, hope that was interesting for you, and you have got it very thoroughly into your mind. And as I told at the beginning of the class, that this is the last chance for you to revisit grammar so closely. Hereafter, perhaps you may not get a chance after class 10. So get it right, because these are all things which play a role from behind the screen in grooming your language skills. Okay, so do take it seriously and make the best use of it. The more the usage of grammar improves, the better your language becomes. Okay, so signing off.